Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Icon here. Thanks for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. In today's video, we're breaking down the Azhir Cave hardpoint between Chicago and Florida. For those of you that might have missed it, in yesterday's kind of finale breakdown where I talked about all the matches, who won, the storyline, stuff like that, I said leave a comment and vote on the comments, and whatever you guys vote for, that's what I'm going to upload for today. So everybody voted for this. I think this had like 30 or 40 likes, the comment that wanted this video. So that's the one that we are breaking down. First thing to realize that as we go ahead and get into the breakdown here is that as we're about to rotate from P1 to P2, you want to hold the right side of the map. And ultimately, that's really going to be what decides who wins this map. And we'll talk about it more when we get to the second and the third set of rotations. But even though Arcides is through right now, you can see that he's battling for spawns in the back, but he kind of stays over here in this P2 area. And essentially what happens is right now, if I go ahead and pause this, you can see the minimap in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see that right in here is where all these green arrows are, and they're still trying to pay attention. You can see a lot of them. He's on P1, 5 Gunless is on P1, Scum's kind of looking mid, Envoy's right up here. He's looking this way, but nobody's pushing that way, right? In order to control P2, you have to push out this spawn back here. So just sitting inside of P2, that's not enough, because if you're sitting inside of P2, then that's just going to be open back there. So this is what you can see right now, that battle for the back. 6, who was it? Mox just got a 2-piece, and now that he got a 2-piece, the arrows come up for Florida in the back. So you had map positioning, right? At one point in time, you had 4 Chicago players inside of P2. If 3 of them just push out that back spawn, then they have spawns for P2, and now the majority of this time would be going to Chicago instead of the map position, which would be held by Florida. Now, with that said, I do want to say that you can slay out in P2 and you can push your enemy team back. And that's kind of what you saw at the beginning there. So the first 30 seconds of that hill, Chicago did a really nice job of slaying out, and they didn't get time inside the hill, but they didn't allow Florida to get time inside the hill either. And when you don't have map position for P2, even right now, look, they're still pushed up. They're still getting kills. Scump, Arcides just with a 2-piece inside the hill. So for a team that rotated, had map positioning, and was in control of the area of the map that you want to be in for P2, Chicago did a really nice job of really only allowing them like 15 or 16 points as a whole there. So now as we're rotating back across the map over towards P3, if you're a Chicago fan, Chicago has the setup that you want. They're inside of P3. They're holding that back spawn. As you see, Pharaoh right there trying to flank through the middle. He got gunned down by Formal. And now the battle's going on inside the hill. But you can see all of those white arrows. Let me pause this. Look at all of these white arrows right here. They're all hitting this one entrance. And if you are a Chicago fan, if you're playing for Chicago, that's what you want. What you don't want to have happen is you don't want those arrows to start flanking through mid, getting kills here, coming through silo, or a lot of times when you leave P2, by the way, I'm drawing on the minimap in the bottom left-hand corner in case you were unaware of what I'm talking about, but a lot of times when somebody leaves P2, you'll see them go through Cave West on a hard flank and pinch behind here just to kind of set up spawns for P4. Now, whether that's beneficial or not, that's kind of a story for another day, but that's a lot of the routes that you see happen more often than not. But as this battle is happening inside of P3, again, the beneficial side is really showing itself, right? If you're spawning on the left side of P3, you have that Godheady, kind of where Arcides is, but down a little bit lower on that brick wall. You only have to watch in front of you and potentially the flank up top on P3. So they did a really nice job of holding that down, and that's how they were able to get back into this game. They got the vast majority, what was it, like 50 points there on P3? And now, let me show this also. I know I keep stopping it a lot, but I really want you guys to see this. But now, as they leave P3, you would think, all right, you know what? We had this spawn, so that's when it comes to P4, we're in beneficial territory. But when they left P3 over here, you can see where they're going. All of the green arrows are flanking over this way. Why would all of the green arrows be flanking over this way? Because P4 is easy to contest from the right side of the map, right? If you're coming from over here, chances are you can throw smokes, throw a couple nades, you can get in, you can contest, you can muddy things up a little bit inside of P4. but you want to have this side of the map because the money hill on Azhir Cave is P5 right here. So if you're in position and you have control of P5, more often than not, the team that has control of P5 ends up winning this matchup. So we'll see how this goes, but just kind of remember those words as we watch the next, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 different hard points as it progresses throughout the matchup. So what you're seeing right here is Florida had that left side of Cave West spawn, and as they're trying to get in, you can see that they're pushed up kind of towards Beatom and towards Short Cave over there to the right of where Havoc was just looking. And they're doing a nice job, honestly. The first 30 seconds or so has gone to them. They haven't give up too much map position. They still have control of the hard point, but what you're missing throughout this is once Chicago got control of Cave East, look at all of these arrows, right? They're all pushing through. And what are we missing? Look at the bottom of the minimap. This white arrow from Florida right here, this is Pharaoh. He's flanking around, and this is what you absolutely cannot have happen. If you're playing for Chicago or you're a coach for Chicago, this is a cardinal sin. You can't have all 5 people sprint into P4 when the most important hard point on this map is coming up next. You have to be watching middle. You have to be watching Cliff's Edge over there kind of by Broken Bridge. And now as Chicago comes up off of spawn, great. You get the last 10 points, but I want you to look at the score right now. This is going to be basically a tie ball game at the end of P4. And since Pharaoh's up here, Frosty's on the hill, Havoc is pushed out a little bit. Watch and see what happens over the course of the next 60 seconds. It's just too hard to break. I'm going to draw on screen. I'm not going to pause it. But if you're Chicago, you only have essentially this one route and you have mid. But there is this flank route over here towards P2. But that's, I don't know, that's easy to be covered, right? If you're hopping up sandbags right here, even if you get a kill like this, everybody's just going to turn around and it's exactly what happened right there. Scump got a kill. Before he could turn around and run away, Pharaoh literally just looked out to his right and mopped up that kill. So there's really only 2 ways that you can get through. And remember, this was a tie ball game. There's still 15 seconds left. And the last 10 seconds here are probably going to end up going towards Florida. And at a score that was once 80-80 is now 130-80. And it's all because at the end of P4, Chicago wasn't watching the flank down towards the bottom of the map. Now, if you're Chicago, you still have to push out that bottom side of the map. So you see 2 green arrows, and this is not what you want to see happening. Oh, this is so irritating to watch sometimes because these are simple mistakes. You see 2 green arrows right here that came up off of spawn. Why do you want to provide support to P1? If you can get a couple of seconds here in P1, great. But what you want to do is you want to flank through. You want to get this kill here on Frosty, who's kind of holding this lane. And then once you get spawns, then you start pushing out this part of the map. Get map control there. Get map control here. Get map control there. And the further you can push it out, the better your chances are of maxing out the time inside of P2. So when those 2 players cut towards mid, they both go down. It was Formal and Gunless, maybe. Formal, Scump, and Gunless. Gunless was in there for sure. But when they cut towards mid, they end up dying. And now look where they're spawning. There's 30 seconds left of the current hard point. And yet again, this sounds like a broken record, right? Over and over again. Florida's doing a fantastic job of controlling the map, controlling the spawns. And Chicago's just not really, I don't know, they're just not executing the way that you're supposed to execute on this map. I have seen them play so well on Azhir Cave. There was a while where nobody could beat Chicago on Azhir Cave Hardpoint, and it's just, I don't know, it's just not there. So as we're about to rotate, we're now in the second set of rotations. We're going back to P2 again. Now you see Formal pushing it out, but the problem is that he's 40 seconds late. If he does this 40 seconds earlier, all he has is a matchup with Frosty on top of top sandbags. And if he wins that, now all of this time that's currently going towards Florida would be going towards Chicago. And another thing I want to point out, I want you guys to watch this. Chicago spawning over here in P4 and Cave West. They're hitting P2 through Cave West through this middle route. And look over here. Look at Mox. Mox is already in P3. There's 40 seconds left in the current hard point. Mox is already giving it up. Mox is going to push through. He's going to hold down this side of the map so that as it rotates to P4, Florida's already in position. So not only did they play P1 correctly, now they're in position for P2. They're slaying out mid-map. Pharaoh just got a double. Frosty's getting kills. So Chicago hasn't even been able to get really close to the hard point until right now, and there's 25 seconds left in the current hard point. But Florida did all that in a 4v5 because Mox didn't do anything the entire time as this rotated from P1 to P2. As soon as that rotation happened, Mox ran away. He's now over towards P3, left of soccer field. And now as it goes over there towards P3, yes, he goes down, but that doesn't matter. He went down, but Florida's already in position on that side of the map. So as we're rotating towards P3, now remember, these are two pro teams, right? So even though they were in position and they had that pushed out, you can still get slayed out at any point in time, right? Map positioning can only do so much. So as you're watching this, yes, it's a 40-point lead, but just kind of pay attention here. This is an opportunity. This was really an opportunity for Florida. And Scump goes on a tear here. I think that's like his third, his fourth. He comes back inside. He gets that one. He gets another one inside silo, and then he goes down. So this is what we were talking about. When it was 170 to 120, if they're in position and they get all of these points, that's it, right? I mean, the game's over if Florida's able to capitalize there. But these are two pro teams, probably in the top 4 or 5, both of them in power rankings. So at any point in time, one team can just slay out. And now all of a sudden, even though Chicago didn't get inside of P2, even though they didn't win the rotations for P3, just their raw slaying ability gave them the advantage inside P3. And now all of a sudden it's a 20-point game, whereas before it was like a 60-point game and it was looking pretty dire. So that's really what you're seeing. But I want you to notice, again, Gunless is going off. So the slaying power right now is insane, right? But this is what I want you to watch as this is about to be a rotation. Again, there's 34 seconds left in P4. Remember, we said whoever locks down P5 wins this game. And you're going to notice all of these white arrows, they say, heck with it. Let's give it up. And you're going to see the battles as they go on rotation here because this is what's going to end up winning the game. So you can see Scump in middle. Right there, he should be calling out, they're all mid. He had to have just seen at least 3 of them. So Arcides is here, but he's the only one. Scump's here in the middle, but even if Scump kills everybody, so let's show that real quick. Scump just got a kill right here, kind of towards this mid-cave cut. Even if Scump kills every single person he sees in the middle of the map right there, it's not going to matter because all of the positioning and the spawns are going to be determined by those flanking on the outside of the map. So if you're Chicago, yeah, there's 20 seconds left, and normally you wouldn't rotate that early, but when Scump went down mid-map, he should have been relaying, they're all on flank. So keep one person inside of P4, and everybody else needs to flank. So Havoc's here, and this is something. So right there, Formal just wins that battle on Havoc, right? Formal's back here. He's number 1. He just wins this battle here. This is a big mistake. You have to get in this area of the map to control spawns. So what does Formal do? He goes back in towards P2. And I know he's weak, but when he goes back into P2, that allows Mox and Frosty to push out this area of the map. This is just one of those tiny little mistakes. I know you're wounded. I know you're weak, but you're looking at your minimap. And if you give this up, it's over. You're going to end up losing. And right there, he gets killed. Now there's nobody else back there. I just want to say, I get that it would have been a tough 2v1 to win. But if both of those players are turned around looking towards Broken, then you could potentially kill them in the back as their teammates rotate through Cave. So him backing up like that gave up the back spawn, and now we're in the same scenario that we were in on P1 on the first set of rotations, right? P5 first set of rotations that Florida has control, they have map control, they have spawns, they're forcing Chicago through this tiny little cut, You can see 9 right here. I couldn't see exactly who that was. Don't think it was Pharaoh. They didn't cut to him. This is exactly what Pharaoh was just doing. Havoc's just hitting the pinch from top stone, and as he does that, he's shooting them in the back. This is a fantastic way of playing this from Florida until they just got slayed out. Now, there's only 6 seconds left, but if you're Chicago at this point in time, this should be a win, right? Because as it rotates from P5 to P1 to ultimately P2, if you can just hold down these back spawns over here and you can contest for 30 seconds inside of P1, you can win this game as it rotates back to P2. So right now, if I'm just thinking strategically, I'm thinking we have to contest on P1, we have to win on P2. That should be their game plan moving forward. And you're going to notice right here, so Scump gets a nice kill. But first of all, let me just point this out real quick because I actually just saw this. I've watched this 3 or 4 times. Let's look at this. So look at the map. Inside of Hill right now is Formal, right? So Formal's right here. They have control of the Hardpoint. Scump is inside of Cave East. So they have control of this side of the map, right? All of Florida's players, 1, 2, 3, 4, are on the left side of that green line. And look at this spawn. I just saw this. Right? Where is it? Right there. Why? This is, again, it's just so disheartening to see because stuff like this can determine these major tournaments. Why is Skies getting this spawn? What has Florida done to earn the spawns on this side of the map? Why is this happening? Man, I've watched this 3 or 4 times, and that's the first time that I'm picking up on that. So as this rotates here, Skies is going to end up killing Formal from behind, which makes no sense. Now the rest of Florida is spawning there, and now as it rotates back to P1, Florida has control of the right-hand side of the map. Okay, so let's analyze spawns again. Now as spawns are coming in, it looks like those that had control of the right-hand side of the map went ahead and pushed it in. So Skies and Mock spawned behind them at P5, and they just pushed towards mid-map. I thought maybe they're thinking that they could win right here on P5. So now as it's rotating, Chicago does this again. You have to be ready to win on P2. That has to be your strategy. As they're spawning over here in Cave, these 2 arrows, where are they going? And then look right here. Look at 0. Look at Havoc. Havoc is just going to push through, and the casters actually missed this. They were a little bit shocked. If you go back and you listen to the commentary, they thought that this was a bad spawn, but Havoc just pushes it out. If you're Chicago, I know you have to contest on P1, but that should be easy enough to do. And as they're trying to rotate towards the middle in P1, all 5 of Chicago arrows, now, Gunless just missed him, but it's partially Gunless's fault, right? If he spawns right here and he knows that he's going to be watching the left-hand flank over here, why would you cut through this way to watch it and not go back towards P5 and watch it that way? Why would you cut the map in half instead of being 100% positive and making sure you're pushing out that right-hand side by P5? So now as all of this is happening inside the Hardpoint, as I'm looking at the minimap, Havoc is set up in the back. He's just buying his time, waiting for his teammates to contest on P1, waiting for them to die. And as they die, Pharaoh just came up back by Havoc. And then Mox just came up back by Havoc. So even though the last 11 seconds here are going to end up going towards Chicago inside, actually they just went down. They just died on top of P1 also. But even though that happened, I mean, this is a lot of mistakes, right? If you're thinking about this. Now, if you're thinking about this from a Florida point of view, this is fantastic. They're doing a phenomenal job of sneaking around the backside and holding down map position and getting spawns and stuff like that. If you're Chicago, how many mistakes? It's probably 10 or 15 different mistakes that we've seen. And these aren't like, oh, I didn't throw my nade in the right spot. These are like, wow, we literally didn't watch the flank that could determine the game, that could decide the outcome of the game. Even though Scump went on a 3 spree there, and I mean, he's flaying out. He's 34 and 32, but even with all of that, just the fact that they weren't set up where they needed to be, that's going to end up costing them the game. And it's just sloppy. I mean, it's just sloppy. It's not what they're capable of. And if you go back and you watch this again, there has to be 10 or 15 mistakes that we just saw right there that you probably shouldn't be seeing out of a professional Call of Duty team, especially players at the level that they're playing at. So yeah, it's a little bit shocking. Now, the other thing is that basically whenever I've uploaded a video talking about breaking down how broken the spawns are in this game, it's always happened on Azhir Cave. So I'm not too surprised that we just saw that. But yeah, it's, I don't know, it's a mix of a couple things. Not being prepared, not playing the map properly, not pushing out spawns, not holding spawns, not having the best game strategy and knowledge as it went down the stretch there. With all of these vets, Scump and Gunless and Arcees and Formal, I know Envoy's kind of young, but with all of those guys on the same team, these mistakes should not be happening. So give Florida their props because they played this map phenomenally. They were always in the right position, and when they were in the position, they capitalized on it. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know this is the one that you guys were asking for, so hopefully you learned something in this. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I put out analysis videos like this every single day. If you have any comments whatsoever, put them down below. Leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, I know this is a little bit of a longer video, but you guys asked for it. So with that, guys, I will catch you in tomorrow's upload.